Because yeah, you can tell he's cropped it to block out the logos and the timer that this guy has put on. Now, where he's getting that from is probably Progress Samara. All right, we should be going live here. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello, Exploration. Hello, Obs. Misspelled failed US NATO proxy war can. Anyway, hello everybody. I am Space Mike, and today we are going to watch the launch of Bion-M. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and switch over. Well, I actually just missed a cool animation that was going on there. But how's the audio? Testing, testing. Am I is the audio from the stream overblowing my audio, or am I overblowing it too much? Let me know how you hear me. Thanks for being here. Cool, cool. Thank you for being here. Despite all the geopolitical stuff that is going on with Russia right now, doesn't mean that we can't appreciate this Soyuz rocket and especially the payload that is on board. Um, the Bion-M spacecraft. I just made a quick little video about it yesterday, uh, basically saying that it is heritage from the original space capsule from Vostok. And I'm actually just gonna turn this down just a little bit more. We'll turn this back up in a little while. But yeah, despite all this geopolitical stuff that's going on, doesn't mean that we can't appreciate it. It's to me, the Soyuz rocket is like the classic car of rockets. And there we go. There's footage of them actually working on installing the experiments onto this vehicle. Um, I really love that this is something that is been around for 65 years. And actually, there was a commenter who let me know that they did a couple of high atmospheric tests with this before they even launched it. The capsule, I mean. I'll pull that up for you guys later and show you what I'm talking about. Um, they used it as a high altitude balloon gondola, and I've never seen anything so crazy looking before. Here, actually, I'm just gonna pull it up real quick. Take a look at this real quick. Take a look at this. This is a high altitude gondola that looks like a lunar lander that was a test of the Vostok capsule before they actually did the first crewed flights. Apparently, they started building these ones as early as 1958, possibly 1959, and tests were going on concurrently to test the ejection system because they had to bail out and get all the way to the ground via parachute on their ejection seat to get all the rest of the way to during reentry. So really crazy that they did that. Anyway, let me go back to the stream here. It looks like we have about 31 minutes and 50 seconds until the actual launch. So we have a little bit of a while to talk about this. Um, as I said, there's nothing wrong with being able to appreciate their rocket, despite what may be going on geopolitically. And you know, the same thing can be said for lots of other companies. Like, yes, Germany was bad in World War II. Does that mean that we shouldn't have Volkswagens? Does that mean that people can't appreciate Volkswagens? Is it morally wrong to own a Volkswagen? No. There's nothing wrong with liking the Soyuz rocket. There's nothing wrong with liking the Roscosmos program. Um, and you know, one would hope that all space agencies around the world would be completely separated from whatever geopolitics are going on. I wouldn't want NASA taking sides in conflicts, that's for sure. So I think it's safe to say that despite everything, Roscosmos is doing their best. And it's actually kind of a bit of a miracle that it still even exists at all. So in any case, thank you for being here. I see a handful of familiar faces. Aravel is here. Thank you for being here. Where's everybody watching from? I am currently watching this from Arizona, so I am, uh, uh, I believe, 10 hours behind them right now. What is the time in Moscow right now? Yeah, I'm 10 hours behind Moscow time. However, this is happening in Baikonur. Is that in the same time zone? Aha. Okay. So that's actually a different time zone. No, this is Baikonur. This is not Plesext. This is the Baikonur Cosmodrome. I can definitely tell. And local time in Kazakhstan is 9:43 p.m. They are UTC plus 5. I'm UTC minus 7. So I'm actually 12 hours behind where this launch is going on right now, which totally cool. But kind of fun to do that math in your head sometimes of where exactly you are with these things happening live around the world. Nominal Joe, hi, good to see you. Yeah, this is super cool. Roscosmos streams are usually really high quality. Despite me not understanding what what they're saying, I don't speak I don't speak Russian. Um, yeah, their graphics are great. I love what they're even showing right now. This experiment for the Bion-M, it's a biological experiment mission. So they're sending up 75 mice, a couple hundred, possibly over 1,000 fruit flies, couple of reptiles. You saw some gecko-looking lizards a bit earlier, and even here we have some tadpole fish that are in a little aquarium. And this is just another one of those tests to test out radiation exposure, microgravity exposure, and the plan is that they will be up there for about a month. And also looking at some different plant growth and algae growth experiments. Oh, yeah, that was just on screen just a second ago. Sorry. Um, and the purpose of this being to get a little bit more information to test out some new technologies for radiation protection and life support systems, because Russia is working on their own next generation capsule, the now currently called the Orel capsule. It's gone by many names: Federatia, the PTNP, to just to name a handful off the top of my head. But its current name is Orel, and it is very similar to the Mengzhou spacecraft that China is building. They look very identical, similar to how the Shenzhou is based off of the Soyuz spacecraft, not the rocket, the spacecraft. Anyhow, um, so they're testing out some of those new technologies for their vehicle, and if they ever uh, can kind of recover, they do plan on building a new space station in low Earth orbit at some point. This one would be in a polar orbit, which would make it a lot easier to be accessible from the Vostochny Cosmodrome. It doesn't seem like Russia has any plans of converting Plesetsk into a spaceport that would be able to launch crew. They could potentially launch progress vehicles from there if they wanted, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. And even then, they'd still have to make upgrades. But with Baikonur, Kazakhstan is really holding Russia hostage. As a matter of fact, there was a hostage situation a couple of years ago during the breakout of the fighting between Ukraine and Russia. Government of Kazakhstan locked down the Baikonur Cosmodrome and held all of the Russian engineers hostage until Russia agreed to their terms. And their new terms was a much more expensive lease agreement and all sorts of guarantees and protections that they won't ever try to pull this same sort of BS to Kazakhstan that they're currently doing right now with Ukraine. Anyhow, they got their way. Russia agreed. They got their people back, and they were able to carry on with launches. However, they would much prefer not to have to deal with those sort of conditions, despite them having launched here for over, what are we at, 67 years now? Longer than that, because they were even doing a handful. No. That was at Casputin Yar. Never mind. Some of the earlier tests before 58 were at a different spot. Anyhow, Vostochny, though, in the far east, closer towards Alaska, would be where they plan on launching human spacecraft from in order to reach their new proposed space station in a polar orbit called ROSS. I forgot what that stands for at the moment. Russian Orbital Space Station, I think. Let's just call it that, Russian Orbital Space Station. Um, and um, the purpose, again, of this Bion-M and testing these new technologies on different biologics like mice and plants and algae and reptiles, is to test out those new systems that would someday go on their next generation vehicle and their next space habitats for low Earth orbit. They, of course, would love to be able to go to the moon, but that's all kind of up in the air as well. It doesn't seem like China really wants to cooperate with them. Gee, I wonder why. In any case, let me get back to your comments and catch up here. We got a couple folks watching from the United States. Nice to see you, Mule Skinner. You're watching from Minnesota. Man, the graphic of the comments here has been updated, and I love it. Good to see you guys here. Watching from Oklahoma, Maryland. How am I doing so far? Okay is Oklahoma. MO, that's Minnesota, right? I think that's Minnesota. And then MD is Maryland, right? Another Minnesota. Yeah, 30 minutes and all over the pad. Yeah. Yeah. They do things quite differently over there. UKGB nation national anthem plays in the VG. PA, that's Pennsylvania. Pie quarter. Yesterday's video was great info. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance, be sure to check that out. Um, yeah. Interesting. McCrate, T McCrate 25 Gaming says Russia is going to be stuck in LEO for at least the next 25 years. LMFAO. Yeah, probably. Probably. Um, I don't know. I'd still like for them to do something. And I hope that someday, maybe in the future, we can work with them again and continue to do cool stuff together. Be much better if everyone were to pool their resources together instead of competing with each other, but whatever. NC, is that North Carolina? Yes, it is. Redneckshire. Daniel Yount, hello. Good to see you. We got somebody from Missouri. Another UK SW. I'm not sure what that is. That UK Southwest? Oh, Missouri. Dang it. Wait, did I say Missouri or was I saying Montana? And yeah, that's true. GTH control of Leo can deny access to other orbits destinations. There is something that I like about the idea of sending it into polar orbit, because in a polar orbit, it could potentially be reached by any spaceport around the world. Almost every spaceport can reach polar orbit. However, whether or not they go north or south is another story. Um, if they're doing all of this from Vostochny, they could go either way. Like they don't have restrictions of if they go north or south. So they could reach polar orbit easily from that site, depending on which longitude you're trying to reach. And if they go north, then that would block everybody from being able to not everybody, but it would block a lot of launch sites from being able to do that, like Shriharakota, for example. They can only launch south from there. You can launch north from Cape Canaveral, but you kind of have to do these weird pitch maneuvers if you're trying to go for true polar orbit. But if you're going south, it's a lot easier to do it from going south without having to use up a lot of extra fuel. So if they go south from Vostochny, if they even ever build this thing, it would allow everyone from almost every launch port around the world to be able to reach them. They just have to wait until lines up with the rotation of the Earth. So there'd be launch windows every single day, I believe, um, if not multiple times a day. If they go north, though, that would restrict a lot of things. And even if Russia doesn't do that, I think it's a good idea to do a polar orbit space station in Leo for everyone else who is still getting their feet wet, like with India. they're actually planning on doing their space station in the same inclination as the International Space Station is in right now. What is it? 53.6 or is it 56.3? I always get that little mixed up, little dyslexic, but that's what India is planning. If we weren't in this geopolitical situation, um, it might be easier for them to be able to go south. But anyway, love the animations that they have on the Roscosmos streams. I mean, look at this animation. This is a brand new animation of what the Bion-M looks like from the heritage of the Vostok capsule. I think it's just absolutely brilliant that they're still using them. Some people might say, like, holy cow, that's super old technology. When are you gonna get new stuff? But at the same time, like, where would we be if we had continued using the Mercury capsule to do the same type of experiments, biologic experiments like this, materials science, like what Varda is doing, growing crystals or testing out different manufacturing materials and alloys and things like that, or even in the 60s and 70s doing. See, like, look at this. Look at the ambitions they have. Holy cow! Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't know if I've seen this before. Yo, this is the Mars transport vehicle that we were supposed to build with NASA. Hold up. Hold up. Did you guys see that? That looked like a space station with solar electric propulsion and a tiny little Venture Star space shuttle, I'm assuming, to land on Mars. Holy crap. That's the first time I've ever seen that before. What the heck, Roscosmos? What was that? Oh man. Here, I better turn up the volume just a little bit. I know they're still talking in their pre stuff, but I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. So let me know if it's too distracting before we fully focus on what they're doing. Holy cow! I know that's just a render, but I love ambitious plans. That's super cool. Anyway, let me catch back up with the chat here, guys. Sorry about that. Mr. Miyagi, how come the Russians make their rockets look like models? I don't know, man. Same reason everybody else does. Is this the real countdown, or are there expected pauses like ULA and yes, Southwest? Oh, for UK Southwest. Um, I don't believe that they have expected pauses. They might, but generally, from my understanding, if there's any sort of like problems that they have, they generally need to like do a 24-hour turnaround. Um, then again, they also are very risky, as somebody pointed out earlier, 30 minutes before launch and people all over the pad. Here we are now at 17 minutes, 14 seconds, and I'm not seeing, I couldn't tell if there was anybody on out there now. But in any case, I have really appreciated the photos and videos that they've been uploading on the development of this. And even though it's the same little round capsule that Yuri Gagarin and Valentina Tereshkova flew into space, they've made little upgrades along the way. It's got a completely different service module. It's got upgraded life support systems. It's got upgraded batteries to last a lot longer. It's got solar panels. It's got way better communication. Like, if they left it up there, they could turn it into a relay satellite if they wanted to until it naturally decayed and deorbited. Because this is just going to low Earth orbit. I believe that they're going to 300 kilometers. They might actually be going lower than that. Sorry, I should have been more prepared on that. No, that's the old one. I don't care about that one. What's the plan for this one? Oh, way higher actually. So they're actually planning on doing a couple different maneuvers. They'll initially start off at 559 kilometers, and then they're going to raise their orbit at some point during this month-long mission to about 1,000 kilometers. So, even better reason to be doing this. We're going to be passing through the Van Allen belts. So, uh, more rationale to be doing this biologic mission. Hope all these little cute mice will come back alive. Anyway, let me keep catching up with your chat. I love that shot just there. Better than making them look like Blue Origin. uh, Makes sense. South is downhill. Not what, not what I, not what I meant, but that made me laugh. Thunder, you said Thunderbirds earlier, Sakura's Light and Miyagi. Yeah, the proton launches look like even more of a Jerry Anderson production. I think that I've only seen like 2 more proton launches on the books for the coming years. I think its end is very close.
Ну да,
It should have ended a
вспомним
long time ago,
как,
but
как аналогичные спутники «Фотон», на которых проводились технологические исследования и эксперименты. Вот
yeah,
снова
in
были
relation to the polar station, surely you just need to launch on a path that matches the direction of the orbit.
космический
Yeah,
приборный отсек.
and when it's lined up, because the tricky part about going into polar orbit
Ростов. Вот
is
впереди
you could
нас
launch into
ожидает
polar orbit as well from a
космический
different launch
кругосветный
site,
барабан. Там
but you're
получится
going to
совсем
be
рядом.
in a different
Вот,
longitude.
солнечные
So
батареи
you
тоже
both
могут
might
быть
be in a
незначительно
90-degree
космических размеров.
perfect polar
Также
orbit,
приходилось
but
запускать союзники, потому что
God, I
как
wish I
раз
had a better
Союз запускал
visualization here.
аккумуляторы.
You might have one guy here. I'm going to go full screen for just a second. You might have one guy who is orbiting this way in a perfect 90-degree polar orbit, but then you have another dude who's also in a perfect polar orbit going this opposite way. So you're not lined up and there's still a huge gap in between you. You might cross points at the North and South Pole, but you're going to not be in the right area. So, what you have to do is if someone is in a polar orbit as the Earth is rotating, you have to wait until yours lines up right so that you're as you're launching, like it's actually a couple minutes before it perfectly lines up. You launch in order to get into a way so that you can kind of bend in and match that same longitude so that you're even though you're both in a 90-degree orbit, you're in the same plane so that you could actually do rendezvous and docking maneuvers and so forth. Anyhow, let me go back to this.
Продвинутыми приборами, могут
So yeah,
находиться на орбите очень долго. Вот,
um,
оснащены, у них есть двигатель, который многократно включается, позволяет корректировать орбиту и выбирать как орбиту, так и время
check
посадки.
for a blurred watermark in the corner.
Вот, и сейчас
Not sure what you're referring to,
Bion-M оснащает всех
GTH.
частей спускаемого аппарата, приборно-агрегатного отсека с солнечными батареями.
I like the sharing idea of
Это
polar orbit, but are
позволяет
not the risks of being hit by
обеспечить
debris worse,
безопасность
says St.
длительный
Alex.
период
Yes, actually.
достаточно долго.
And the reason is
Вот.
because some people launch north
Надо
and
сказать,
others
что
launch south. And
за
so they
последние годы,
crisscross
особенно
each
вот
other,
после
go in
того, как
opposite directions. I
прошел
can't do it right
запуск
now. I'm too
Bion-M1,
uncoordinated. I need more coffee. But
электроника
you're going in
и
opposite
подводка
directions. So you're
модернизирована.
literally ships passing in
Так
the
что
night,
сегодня
ships
ученые могут
passing in the
наблюдать за
stars.
проведением подобных
And if
экспериментов,
you hit each
называется
other, it's
в прямом
way
эфире
more
по
energetic
международной
because you
орбите с
got
помощью
two things going
космических аппаратов
45,000 miles per hour in
инфракрасновых
opposite
способов.
directions. So, yes, it is actually more risky.
Да,
Despite that risk, though, things are still miles apart from each other. And if you've got a capable enough system, even if something does get close, and you have plenty of radar stuff detecting little
вот
pieces best you
космическом
can,
аппарате
you
там
can you
все
can still
практически
avoid it unless we
автоматизировано, как
go
и
completely
в
irresponsible and
космодроме.
start
Запускается только
shooting Starlinks out of the
самолет
sky and
«Союз»,
completely ruining LEO.
сгорает в атмосфере при встрече с орбитой.
In Russia, they need to start the cryo fuel pumps by hand with a crank.
Ну да,
Yep.
пока готовится
And the engines get lit with a giant
и
match, a
да,
literal
ну и
stick with
одна из задач
sulfur.
ученых как
Giant
раз
match
быть
is what
в
lights the
момент перехода,
engines.
потому
No
что
fancy
после
spark plugs, a literal
такое
match.
длительное пребывание на
Some
орбите
village
человека,
in Russia has been making these
требуется
matches
огромное
for
усилие
67 years, and
защиты
it's their
радиации,
family
чтобы
business, and they
сопротивляться
get delivered by
радиоактивности,
cart.
происходящей в атмосфере при
It's
полете
freaking
на перевозок
ridiculous. Look
будущего
up the Soyuz matches. You'll see what I'm talking about. Or I'll look that up later if we want to do that. Hello, Keith McDermott. Glad that you could be here. Oh man, loving the loopy gesture for orbits not lining up. I'm sorry, my hand
надо,
marks
конечно, посмотреть результаты.
um
Ученые у нас
didn't work. Blurred
несколько
watermark on their
итераций
space station
работали
render. Oh, for that
над
Mars one that we saw
исследованием.
earlier.
Насколько
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that
с
again because that was
а,
really interesting. I want to know more about what that
как,
is and where that came from.
с Бион, как первых поколений, так и сейчас были получены очень
Yeah,
нужные,
debris
очень важные данные,
or
но зря,
debris.
допустим, те же
Yeah,
самые
not
американцы на
not
своей
S.
вот
No
программе Бион
debris.
и вкладывали свои деньги.
Debris.
То есть это были совершенно уникальные
Yeah,
результаты
you're right.
получены,
My
которые
bad.
потом привели в том числе и, допустим, к появлению каких-то неких процедур при подготовке космонавтов и проведении экспериментов на орбите. То есть это все влияет.
Ну вот, кстати, видимо, после
Interesting.
репортажа, да, мы могли узнать,
All
что
right.
формируется
9 minutes and
поколение
45
космонавтов
seconds until launch.
во время работы фотона, потом их
На МКС
следующие,
посылали,
да,
да.
поколения, значит, летали на МКС, там уже
И
дальше над
сейчас
ними
уже, да.
ставили
By
эксперименты.
the way,
Можете
this is the
описать
13th mission
необычную работу на
of
МКС, на ваш
the
взгляд,
Bion
насколько
spacecraft,
необычная?
the
И
second
можно ли
of the
вообще
evolved
получить такой
version,
опыт
Bion-M,
космонавтов
M
предварительно?
standing for like
Ну,
evolved, upgraded.
кроме
You've seen that before for like Soyuz M and then Soyuz TM, and now we're on Soyuz MS. It's like evolved plus. Think of it as like Soyuz Premium Plus is the version that we're on right now.
космонавты
Which,
выполняют
in a way, you can think of this as
физические
being like
трудности,
Vostok
то,
Premium Plus
допустим,
Special
запуском,
Edition.
допустим, какими-то микроорганизмами мы можем наблюдать
It
другие
makes me wonder how many of the
космонавты
engineers who worked on this
опыты,
thing while
которые
they
могут
were
делать.
getting it
Допустим,
ready.
орбит те же самые,
How many of them just thought, man, we could just reconfigure this and one of us could fly in
орбитальные
this
станции
thing.
в рабочем режиме. Потом космонавты вынуждены
I would
применять
think about that
определенные
every day as I'm working on
специфические
this and making sure
для
that
них
the
организмы, которые
life
проследуют
support
транслацию.
systems are going to work for all the
Поэтому
mice
вот
and
здесь
everything else that's in there.
как раз и
I'm assuming they've got some sort
возможность
of automatic
увидеть,
feeder system.
хотя эксперименты проводятся как
This is
на
Josh Collins,
людях,
10 Applebee's Pro
так
Max.
и теоретически
Oh my
на
goodness.
живых существах, на автоматических аппаратах
Soyuz
можно
Played Plus Pulsar
узнать
M
о
is
влиянии
best version.
условий факторов космического полета на живые организмы были получены как раз прежде
Oh
всего
man.
на
All
автоматических
right, I'm just
аппаратах.
getting excited. We're just a couple minutes away.
Ну, видимо, их в таком вот,
Again,
э, ну, невозможно описать
not there's
словами,
nothing
потому
wrong
что
with
это
liking the
вещи совершенно
Soyuz. It is the
геометрические,
classic car
все
of
невероятные,
rockets.
потому что
It's
человеческий организм,
beautiful,
он рассчитан
it's
на
symmetrical, it's got
условия
curves,
гравитации, а там невесомость,
and it's super reliable. It's
сопротивление
flown what, over
сил
1600 times in all of its different versions?
допустим, там
And its different upgrades that they've made through the years. Like
сопротивление
that's what I love about their systems is even though they're using the same stuff
А
that
вот, кстати,
originally was developed in the
на площадках, где
1950s,
проводили
they
эксперименты
keep
с людьми,
making little
бывали, да?
upgrades little by
Да, ну
little and
смотрите,
keep making it
во-первых,
useful. Like
как
that's brilliant.
проводились
Where would we be
первые
today if we still
эксперименты,
had
осуществлялись
Mercury
этими
and
американцами на
Gemini
своих
and
группах,
Apollo
то
hardware
осуществлялись,
available?
во-первых, и
Man,
аппаратура была не такой совершенной, как сейчас. И выяснилось, что вот именно из-за того, что
solid
организм
detachment is pretty slick too.
он приспособлен к
Do you
тяжести
mean
и
on
при
like
вылуплении
solids on other rockets?
питаться
Or are
не
you talking
может.
about the boosters on this one?
Поэтому нужно было
Because all the
как-то
boosters, they're all liquid
ставить
fueled,
условия
and I
для
love
того, чтобы
the way that they separate
космонавты
the
поднимались на орбиту.
Korolev
Что-то получалось,
cross.
что-то нет. Но в основном все-таки, если не давать такого ухода специального, то результаты
What?
есть.
Give us an Ivan. Where's my bird from Iron Man
Ну,
2?
кстати,
Where
я
is my
слышала
bird?
про некоторые интересные
Where is
данные
it?
по предстоящему запуску.
We
Траектория
will be
ракеты
putting sanctions against you until I have the return of my
пройдет над
bird.
Казахстаном, Челябинской, Свердловской областями,
Hello,
между
it is your friend
Новосибирском и
Mikhail. I am
Новосибирском.
Cosmos Mikhail.
Пролетит
I am
недалеко от
Space Mike's twin brother, separated
Челябинска
at birth and grew up in
и
Siberia,
будет
forest of
выступать.
Siberia. My best friend is bear.
Ну вот на
My
момент
greatest
старта
enemy is
в
chicken.
Байконуре будет глубокая
I
ночь.
make matches for Soyuz rocket
В начале полета
in
организм
rural
достигнет
village. In
Земли
family
где-то
business for a long time.
метров
Not
через
my
700
family, I'm
после старта.
adopted, but yeah.
Она,
Da.
достигнув района Екатеринбурга, она выйдет из
All right,
тени
I'll
на
stop. My
первые
bad.
солнечные лучи, и тогда можно будет ее смотреть.
Good morning, Alan.
После выхода из
From
тени
Diamond
ракета
Bar,
станет летать
California. Right
быстрее
on.
2000 километров. Ее можно будет наблюдать
They'll need a couple of
в
matches then.
Свердловской области, Татарстане, Удмуртии и других местах. В
I
Москве
also do
теоретически
really
есть
like
вероятность,
how they
что
do their
ракета
launch
будет
pads.
низко
Instead
над
of like we build our flame trenches down in at Cape Canaveral
Возможно,
for
полеты
some of the
ракеты
launch
будут
pads,
будущие события,
but we
начиная с
also build the
Союза.
platform
Осенью
up
всего
and
этого года
raise it.
появится первая
Whereas
ступенька.
they keep
Затем
their
через 5 лет
platform
мы
level so that it
приблизимся
can
к
just be rolled right
мотивационному
out from their
взлету.
vehicle
Через
assembly
несколько
building
десятилетий
and put up
сбросится с
erected
поля пилотного
into
опускателя
its
и через
place.
9 минут 22
And
секунды
I
отделится
love
полет к
just the
первому
way that they
испытательному
have their
кругу.
flame diverter
Через
trench
5-6 минут после
set up.
запуска
Actually, I really
полет
love the
начнется.
whole Baikonur
Чтобы
Cosmodrome in
правильно
general.
взлететь, нужны
Someday,
яркие
when I'm an
угольные
old man,
шары.
I would love to make
Они
a model
позволяют
railroad
снижать
set
ступень ракеты до
of the
поверхности.
Baikonur
А вот
Cosmodrome because
взлет
everything is
начинается
all
при
connected
движении,
via
и
rail,
можно будет
and
его наблюдать.
the
Ну а
yeah,
пока до пуска остается
they really
несколько
knew what they
минут,
were doing when they
хочу
set up that
представить
launch
вам
complex.
музыкальный клип.
Hello,
Этот
Therion. You
видеоролик
haven't missed much.
записан на камеру
We
имитационного
are awaiting the
космического
launch
оборудования.
of
Это
Soyuz with
совместный
the
проект
Bion-M
Роскосмоса и
spacecraft,
компании
which is
ТМРО.
a
Сам клип будет
derivative of the
записан в
Vostok
августе.
spacecraft. We are
А
just a
давайте
couple of minutes
посмотрим
away.
тизер
It's
этого
looking
клипа.
like we're 4 minutes and 38 seconds away from launch. And now they're just, yep, I think it's on, guys. They're doing their hype stuff for it. So I think it's on. I don't think we're going to have any delays. Soyuz launches in freaking snowstorms. They don't delay the same way that we do. All right. This is all right. Bad hype video. Boo. Yeah. Bad hype video. I don't know what the heck that is for, but oh man.
Ну, в общем-то, уже послезавтра можно будет увидеть этот клип в социальных сетях Роскосмоса, Триколора и певицы Беовульф. Но сейчас давайте
That
послушаем
Chinese flame trench in the middle of the building is still my favorite. Yeah. That's at the desert one, right? Is that Juchen? I thought it was pronounced Juquan, but it's Juchen. You learn something new all the time. How many Soyuz launches have I watched? Well, I've never seen any live. Obviously, I've never traveled there, but watching streams like this over the past decade, at least 40 or 50, maybe 100. I don't know. I've watched a few. Okay, they're listening into the launch directors. So yeah, I think we're good. 2 minutes 47 seconds for launch. Their go no go poll is just a couple of guys being like, "You good? The good? The." No, I'm just playing. It's easy to make fun. Baikonur launch is getting increasingly rare. Always love how the Soyuz will launch in any weather. Yeah. You're all good, NRJ. You're just in time for the good part. Here, you know what? Let me turn this up a bit. Is that okay, guys? Is that too loud? Or should I go louder? One minute, 43 seconds. This view looks like garbage now, but it'll look great at liftoff. Trust me. And also, I do want to get your guys' opinions. Okay, it needs more louder. Okay. How's that? Hopefully that's good and we don't get then again, it's totally fine if we have the rocket noises super loud, right guys? Slide it over to 11. All right, here we go. Hope that's not too loud. 52 seconds. Let's launch those space meese and fruit flies. And yes, the plural is meese, not mice. All right, strong back retract. 104. Ah, this is the Vostok launch. I mean Bion-M. Same thing. Okay. The match has been lit. We have engine ignition. Liftoff in 7 seconds. Yeah. I mean, da. Go Soyuz. Go Bion-M number 2. For a new understanding of biologics in the hazardous Van Allen radiation belts. And now if you, we can see on our screen their launch graphics, which I actually love a lot. Everyone has kind of learned from each other. SpaceX, ULA, Roscosmos. And I love what they do. And I also appreciate how they change back and forth from Russian to English. So although the numbers don't change, you can at least see and understand what everything is. We are already at 2,500 kilometers per hour, 26 kilometers in altitude. All stages are burning as planned. We should be coming up in the next couple of seconds on the Korolev Cross. Stage 1 or stage 0, depending on which schematic you look at, is the 4 boosters, powered by a variation of the RD-110 engines. Everything is going nominally, or Polyot Normalnia. There we go, Korolev Cross. Oh, they didn't get the good shot of it. I can't even see any glow. That's all right. It looks like we have a successful stage 0 separation. The core stage is still burning well. We are now at 60 kilometers in altitude and 6,000 kilometers per hour. And this is what I wish that SpaceX would do. For certain shots, there's nothing wrong with going to a graphic like this. I don't mind this, but what's your guys' opinion? Do you dislike having animations like this for areas that are hard to see with cameras? Or would you prefer we just stick to real footage? Me personally, I love this. This looks beautiful. And we still get the telemetry data for however accurate it might be. Yeah, I love their graphic. And absolutely, Jamie, the founder of TMRO, did set the standard. Okay. 100 kilometers in altitude, 94,000 or 9,400 kilometers per hour, 96, coming up on 10,000 shortly. Not long after that, we should see Miko. Yeah, we'll see. Actually, you're right, Peter. It's actually Block A. That is correct, actually. And then each of the 4 boosters gets its own separate block designation. What we would consider the second stage, which will be doing a hot staging here soon, is called Block I. I is in indigo. Everything is going normalnia. Normalnia.
Параметры системы управления ракеты-носителя в норме.
13,000 kilometers per hour. 144 kilometers in altitude. All right, we have Miko and hot staging of Block I. Nice, and payload separation at the same time. Beautiful. Well, for a graphic.
Есть сброс панели хвостового отсека. Есть сброс створок головного обтекателя. Стабилизация изделия устойчивая.
Nice. All right, let me catch up with your comments here. Oh. Thank you very much.
Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме.
Peter Talone, or Toline. Mix of graphics and onboard shots is the best. I'm surprised we haven't seen any other onboard shots. Usually we get onboard shots of second stage.
Параметры системы управления в норме.
Ah, GTH. You're opposed to mixed reality animation without conspicuous disclosure. And in all fairness, they might have disclosed that, but I don't speak Russian, so I missed it. Ah, Aravel. I like seeing the live shots, but I wouldn't mind a split screen or a pip with both. Picture in picture with both. All right. 17,500 kilometers per hour. We are reaching orbital speeds. Josh Collins, not a big fan of telemetry-driven animations like this. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, as long as the animation is based on telemetry rather than pre-recorded. Yeah. That's why I think they switch the angles so often, in case it's already on some like pre-scripted thing, and they have like whatever reactions are supposed to happen based on the telemetry, they can quickly switch to the angle of that thing that's supposed to be happening right now. I hope. Best Therian says best would be onboard cameras, of course, but I take the telemetry-driven animation over a fuzzy dot in the sky. Yeah, that's my point. I'd rather see this than just a pixel. Normalnia. Space selfie stick would be great. Technically, once the rocket is in the vacuum of space, extending the selfie stick would work even during engine burn. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's just a matter of just a matter of mass. It's nice to see the two biggest players in the industry use the metric system, for sure. And you know, I only use the metric system for space stuff. Adding cameras would be way too much of a retrofit. In this economy, absolutely, especially for Russia. Yeah, this one indicates animation and it's obvious. Yeah. What is the second stage engine? I have no clue. How is this engine efficiency? The Block I believe it's the 110A. No, I don't want Block D. No, I don't want Block E. I've forgotten the numbers.
Параметры конструкции ракеты-носителя в норме.
No, that's not what I want.
Стабилизация изделия устойчивая.
No, that's not what I want. We should be.
Полет нормальный.
Okay, things are going great. All right. The
Есть выключение двигателя третьей ступени.
no, not the
Есть
110.
отделение
That's a different
космического
one.
аппарата.
First stage is
Космический аппарат
RD-107A.
Bion-M номер 2
Second
выведен
stage
на орбиту
is
искусственного спутника
RD-108A.
Земли. Репортаж на
They're
запуске космического аппарата
RP1 or
Bion-M номер
kerosene
2
and liquid
окончен.
oxygen. Okay.
Ну что же, мы стали
Ooh,
свидетелями
ooh,
пуска
too loud.
ракеты-носителя
Too loud.
«Союз-2-1Б»
Sorry,
вместе
I
с
need to turn
аппаратом
that down for
«Бион-М»
me.
номер 2. Для вас в студии вели эту прямую трансляцию Анна Шенцева и
Actually, I'm
Игорь
gonna do that.
Афанасьев, а
There we
также
go.
команда
Let me know
«Роскосмос-Медиа».
if me and
Мы
her are
прощаемся
clashing
с
too
вами.
much.
Следите за новостями на
Actually, I'm
сайте
just gonna go ahead
про
and turn it down
космос, в
halfway.
соцсетях госкорпорации
Get the
Роскосмос.
shot of the
Пока.
launch pad
До
there.
новых
Хорошего
встреч.
вечера.
The RD-108A, it's in a vacuum. It does about 990 kilonewtons and can run for 319 seconds. Well, that's its ISP. Its actual burn time is closer to like 286 seconds. It only has one level throttling, so they can't do unfortunately can't do like engine reignites and stuff like that. It's just kind of a one burn thing. But the service modules on a lot of these spacecraft usually can compensate for that if they need to do any sort of trimming burns or anything like that. There was a version that they developed that could be a bit more throttleable and even do engine relights, but the amount of extra stuff that they had to put onto it was too much mass to make it work, and just opted to let's just go back to the old system. So I hope that they're not over. I guess this is over though. Interesting. In any case, looks like the launch was successful. Yeah, the stream is ending, bros. Dang. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Um, but yeah, looks like everything went well for that, and still cool to see the not last flight, but a continuation of the flight of Vostok Heritage. Upgraded everything. Upgraded everything. Completely new, completely different vehicle. All right, I'm gonna go back to this real quick, because yeah, that looks like that's ending. I'll go back to it if they come back, but it looks like that's the end of their stream. I don't know why they cut off at that point. They didn't even show the spacecraft separating. That was really strange. Let's see though. Let me catch up on your guys' comments there. Animation requires integrity. Sometimes that can be a stretch. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, it's like I don't want to have faith in anything, but we just have to trust that information is accurate. Same thing with Ariane space launches; they do the exact same thing. And you guys remember the old JAXA launches that was just that Windows 98 screen? That was awful. That was awful. But yeah, I wish I could see two camera angles at an engine. Me too. Me too. Because they usually on previous launches they do have a camera there that is looking down to see the booster separation and check out the engines. Um, so I don't know why they didn't have any of those cameras on this. You'd think that they would do that for something like this that's more of a civilian public thing that instead of a military launch, but whatever. Flame shot and an upskirt. Yeah, as long as you're fine with your camera being dead, and if you do that on the booster, you got to have communications equipment on it. But yeah, could be done. It could be done. Maybe they have onboard cameras, but they're recording on film that need to be deorbited later. Good one. Oh my goodness. Little animated pictures of the commentators was cool. Yeah, to see like the voice of. He knows Russia was first with video. The film canisters happen to land near undersea cables. There's a magnetic cord that just connects. Oh my goodness. You guys are great. Ground crew are already out there. Wow, this is such a unique launch pad as well, for sure. Like they don't mess around there. But they've also got lots of experience. They've figured it out. Like honestly, I love like it's almost like I'm over it now, but there was a time where I hated to admit it, but they have the best engines and they've got the best launch pads. They know what they're doing. And I don't understand why we don't copy their system a lot more. They can observe 200 meters away. Yeah, Godspeed, comrade Moustronauts. Godspeed, comrade geckos. Godspeed, comrade a legion of fruit flies. We sent up whole battalion. Maybe they're worried about hackers. Like me, I guess. The only a handful of people who are even interested in this sort of thing. But yeah, in any case, the that went well. I wish that we'd had more onboard cameras. That was a bit disappointing. It's not like that's anything new. They've had that a lot in the past, but even so, I still do like seeing their uh, whatchamacallits, animations. Like I said, I'd rather be seeing that than some sort of render. Actually, I'm seeing something on Twitter here. I'm going to share this tab. Katya Pavlushchenko. Is there another stream that is still going? Is Progress Samara still streaming right now? Although it's probably just animation, but you never know. No, they are not still streaming. Okay. That's all right. That's all right. I must have just missed that at just the very end while I was yapping. Sorry about that, guys. Um, in any case, uh, in any case, we had a successful launch. Good for Russia. Good to see this thing launching again. Cool to see that they're still using this Vostok capsule, and they might still for a couple of years to come. Not a whole lot of other uses that they have for it right now, aside from doing other biological experiments, unless they want to do some more cooler stuff with like the Photon spacecraft. I believe that that's the one that's the material science experiments. They used to do ones for the research spacecraft and, of course, the Zenit spy satellites, but there's no need for that anymore because of the film camera stuff. Everything can be done digitally. Research, I mean, research is still a satellite program, and so they've completely done away with all the return capsules on that. But same type of service module is the one that just flew on this. That's another thing I love about a lot of their stuff is they've made it compatible with each other. So they can just swap out different service modules from different satellite buses, swap out different communicate like all of their stuff is like plug and play with each other. Even though there might be completely different programs, they can do that for a lot of it. There's a lot of these upper stages that fly on all of their rockets. The Fregat upper stage, the Block D upper stage, the Breeze upper stage. That one's my freaking favorite. That one doesn't fly on Soyuz. Well, actually, no, it does. Breeze KM, which is just the central node instead of the toroidal module that's around it. That does fly on Soyuz. So they can just swap out any of these different service modules to be an upper kick stage on all of their rockets. For Soyuz, back in the day, even for the Zenit rocket and the Rokot rocket, which they might be making a comeback, maybe. And of course Proton, and now we have the Angara rockets, and it all kind of plug and play with each other, and I love that about it. We'll be getting a couple of potential test flights, either the end of this year, beginning of next year, maybe a little bit of both, of their next rocket, their Irtish rockets, Soyuz 5, Phoenix. It's all of those things at once. It's basically just a wider diameter. It's basically a Zenit rocket. It's the Russian replacement for the Zenit rocket, which is all made with Ukrainian components. It's basically all it is. However, I d- they keep confusing me with what they want to do. Like it's still the plan to use Angara for their next generation spacecraft, the Orel, but there's also talks of using this Irtish Soyuz 5 for the next generation instead. And it's just like, guys, just make up your minds. Don't develop a whole nother other rocket series and human rate it. They have a different human rating process. It's much simpler. It's literally two guys being like, "You think it'll work?" And one saying yes. That's all we're simplifying, but um, but yeah, I don't get why they're doing that. However, I hope that the Soyuz rocket itself continues flying for many years to come. I hope they don't retire it once that Irtish rocket comes online, because it's the classic car of rockets and it's beautiful. And despite everything that is going on, there's nothing wrong with liking Soyuz and liking Roscosmos. And I hope that we continue to have a friendly relationship between Roscosmos and NASA for the last years of the International Space Station program, and hope that at some point in the future, we can all work together again, either on a moon base or a Mars base, and include everybody, the Chinese as well. That would be awesome. But that's a perfect world. So we just have to roll with what we have, right? Let me catch up with a handful of your comments here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that we did this as well. This was fun. I know random time and kind of short notice. I didn't even know until this morning if there was even going to be a stream of this one. I hoped that they would, but there wasn't a whole lot of notice that I was seeing for where to even catch the stream. So yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys. Would be nice to host a Ukraine rocket company in the US. Would be very close to Russian ones. The Canadians have beat us to it. Well, kinda, sorta. Apparently, there's some sort of project going on in, I believe it's Nova Scotia, where they're building a launch pad to launch Cyclone rockets, which is primarily Ukrainian pieces. There was a lot less stuff they had to replace to fly that themselves than the Zenit rocket. I believe that the fuel tanks are manufactured in Russia, and the engines and a couple other things are made in Ukraine. There was just would have been a lot more work to replace the Russian components to keep flying Zenit. Not that they've actually flown any of these Cyclone rockets, but the plan is to potentially launch from this Nova Scotia site in Canada. And from satellite views, it doesn't even look like they've broken ground on it. And they're claiming a launch is supposed to happen from there in 2026. But I don't know. I'm not seeing it. But yeah. And at the same time, though, we had all that weird business with Firefly because Ukrainians owned it, and they were going to open up a manufacturing plant in Ukraine for Firefly. Um, they had to the guy who owned Firefly, who was Ukrainian, had to sell it. They had to cancel that factory in Ukraine and completely divulge it and have this whole like effed up situation money wise. So it's like, are we allies with them or not? Like I still don't understand the rationale for why he had to do that. And maybe it's ITAR stuff. Like I could have sworn that he had dual citizenship, but I might be wrong. Former founder investor, as I recall. Um, uh, um, Sorry, that went away too far. But was that what I was getting at? Was correct in his to partner statement. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Firefly was originally going to, yeah, it was originally going to use Ukrainian engines for their what they're now calling the Eclipse rocket, the MLV, and that kind of slowed down. They had to develop the Miranda engines all in house. However, I say that, but I think that they kept a lot of the technical papers that they were basing the original design off of and made some tweaks to make it their own and called it Miranda. I have zero proof. I'm not trying to throw any shade or anything like that. I just think that um, maybe I'm corrupt, but if I was in their position, I would do that. Let's use what we have if it's not illegal and try to speed up our development instead of having to go completely from scratch. Um, and similar type of thing, I believe there was also a similar thing with the Northrop Grumman stuff. Um, Well, I mean, not just for upgrades, but the Antares rocket itself is mostly Ukrainian. It's a stubby Zenit rocket, kinda. At least the fuel tanks are anyway. So yeah, weird situation. A whole weird situation that this war has affected so many things in the spaceflight industry. Let me go back up and wanted to read a couple more comments here. Roscosmos members only, maybe for where the stream would be. I'd be interested to see how much of the GSE is original. Might have some neat working artifacts. That would be cool. Yeah. And there we kind of sort of done that with the whole sea launch thing. If you're not familiar with the sea launch drama, I know you are, Daniel Yunt, but for anyone else watching, if you're not, sea launch was a thing, and Ukraine still owes Boeing money for their part of their investment in the offshore platform and doing the whole sea launch thing with Zenit. They tried to turn it into land launch, but whatever their plans were, it was going very slowly anyway. But if they did have any other plans, it all got upset and ruined by the war. So yeah. Let's see. Wonder if it could fit in the ULA rocket ship. Yeah. Yeah, the whole Wolf Amendment thing that forbids us from cooperating with them makes us mad. But I get a lot of people's stuff about how they're just going to steal everything and screw us over. It's like, yeah, maybe they do that to every freaking business, but that's also on an individual level. However, their government enables it with their lack of recognizing international copyright laws and stuff like that. To get a Ukraine crew capsule would be nice. Absolutely. And like, how cool would it be if they could literally start over, take this Bion-M, reconvert it to do the Voskhod program again? That little capsule, they on Voskhod 1, they threw 3 people inside of that thing. 3. That's freaking crazy. Anyway, um, let me just read a handful more here. Former phone, I did read that one. Ukraine has lots of aerospace tech we need to help boost. Um, I hope that it's still going strong. In the city of Dnipro, which used to be Dnipro, I can't say it anymore. Dnipropetrovsk, I believe, is what it was called. Now it's just Dnipro. Has been one of those major sites that have been shelled quite a bit, and where the Zenit rockets get built. But they do more than just the rocket stuff there. They do a little bit of aerospace there, but their other like big cash cow, the company's called Yushno or Yushnoyi. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Yushnoye. So Yushnoyi. Um, that company, also known as Ushmash, is another thing that you can look up for that. They build the city buses, all of the metropolitan city buses for Ukraine, and they also build tractors, farm tractor equipment. Do y'all remember back in 2022, at the beginning of the war, when those tractors were overturning Russian tanks? Those were Ushmash tractors. So they shut down, well, not completely, but they severely diminished all of the rocket production and aerospace production to focus on the buses and the tractors, because that's what was helping the war effort. Like, that's what a meme. That's so crazy. So yeah, they're busy building tractors right now and city buses. So no idea. There's apparently a year ago I heard there was a small group of like maybe 30 people who were still working in the aerospace division, slowly building stuff. Because I believe that they still supply or they used to supply the payload fairings for Antares and are going to again. when the 330 version comes online, which is just a Firefly Eclipse rocket as the first stage. But the payload fairing that will encompass the Cygnus capsule, I believe, is still being manufactured in Ukraine. But as of last year, there was a very small team of people who were working on it. So would love to see them recover and have a boost and have their own independent space program. But yeah, as one can imagine, exactly, it's been hobbled by Russia. And that's my thing. There's no problem with copying proven designs. Like if I started a space company right now, I would try to buy the rights to the Agena upper stage and fly the Agena again for like small satellites and stuff like that. Um, and I would want to try to build like maybe not Mercury, but like maybe Gemini capsule and give Gemini a completely different service module. And instead of using a fuel battery system, give it a solar power battery system. Anyway, I would love to get some of the old designs for stuff and redo them. I would love to fly Redstone again. I would love to fly Jupiter again so that I could fly Saturn again. Or at least Saturn 1. We might not be able to do Saturn 5, but I don't think it would be that hard to get Saturn 1. And if I had an operational Saturn 1 and operational Gemini capsules, bro, we can do a crazy program right now. So yeah, I would love to take old designs, tweak them, give them some modern upgrades, and keep flying them. If it works, why throw it away? Anyway, I'm just yapping now. How we doing, guys? Unless there's anything in particular, actually, you guys have a couple more comments here. Can we do a project paperclip in Ukraine? Operation paperclip. I mean, I guess. Um, I think a lot of Here's another thing. A lot of guys have already left. They've had quite a bit of a brain drain. That's why they had to institute their draft and do the forceful drafts because a lot of their fighting age folks left the country. So, hmm. Scotty prefers technical documents. Star Trek TOS. Yeah, sea launch. That was greatly strangled by Russia as well. Yeah. Do you know that Sergei Korolev was Ukrainian? I believe so was Chalome. Or was it Glushko? I forget. In my head, Chalome and Glushko are like the same guys. They're both treacherous bastards. But I always forget which one is which. But yeah, a lot of those guys were Ukrainian. You misspelled launch on the thumbnail pic. It says Lanch. Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. That's early morning fog. I apologize about that. I'll get that fixed for the whatchamacallit once we're done streaming here and leave it up for folks if anybody watches this on demand. So if you are watching this on demand, I apologize for uh, my kind of guided thoughts here. Kai Nessel. If the Soviet Union didn't collapse, Zenith would have replaced Soyuz also for crew launch. Zenit. Yeah, actually, yes, you are correct about that. Because the Zenit rocket started off as the boosters of the Energia rocket. And there were plans to start doing crewed launches, either using Clipper or Max, which was one of the early versions of their ORL that they're building today. And that was supposed to launch on Zenit, and it was already being used for the boosters, the liquid boosters of Energia. Another reason why I like their shuttle system better. I wish we still had Energia. That would be amazing. Yeah, tractor beam tank. Yeah, RL10X. I mean, we're still using the RL10. There is evolutions of that, so I wouldn't be able to do that, but I might be able to do the engine for Agena. I'm sure like I'd have to buy the rights from Aerojet. That's who holds the rights to a lot of these old ones that are no longer being manufactured. Um, I imagine we are sorely lacking the manual machining experience. I'm sure we are, but part of me wants to go there. Like I really want to like I really wonder if like Chrysler, for example, has any blueprints or like any records. They should at least have records of like how they set up their factories for it. All these car companies, like I really want to get their old whatever they might have from the 60s of how they actually did this shit and try my best. Oh, you're right, Kai. Max was the shuttle. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That was the little mini shuttle. That one was a weird one. That was not the bore. That one was a super weird one. That was the one that had the like tiny fuel tank, like the space shuttle, but it would all launch on the back of an airplane. Yeah, here, let me pull this image up. Yeah, this freaking thing. And I didn't mean to go into a different window. Do-do-do-do. Yeah, this thing. This freaking thing right here. Yeah, Max was a weird one. Or MA, however you say it. I've always just called it Max, but I realize now that sounds like MAX. Um, but yeah, how toxic is the rocket Glushko? Very toxic. He came up with, wasn't it Glushko that did the Proton, or was that Chalamet? Again, I always confuse those two guys. Super toxic. It's all hypergolics. The whole dang thing, all of it, every stage. Yeah, yeah. Like they've had some really good ideas. They've got some really good ideas, and no one can deny that they have the best engines. Even SpaceX, even the all the awesome stuff that they're doing with Raptor, still not quite there. Or like maybe 80% of the way there from reaching the same sort of quality and efficiency as the Russian engines. All of them, they're just chef's kiss. Every single freaking one. It's heartbreaking as an American. I want us to be that good. Ah, but all the more reason why I hope that in the next 10 years or so, relations can be smoothed out again. We can do business with Roscosmos again. Not that I want to see ULA launching Atlas 5 forever, but I would love to, it would just be super cool to be able to buy, some RD engines, even some small ones, and come up with a small satellite launcher for super cheap. Of course, once they realize what you're doing, that's when they raise the prices on you. That's what they did with ULA. They had a great deal on the RD 180 engines at the beginning, and then they knew what they were doing. They knew they were going to integrate it into a rocket, but once they realized that it was for national security payloads, and they were getting all these customers signing up for it, they were like, "Actually, prices changed. Deal has changed." Anyway, um, yeah. Well, I could yap and rant about stuff and probably say some incorrect information without looking it up and confirming. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining me today for this launch of the Soyuz rocket with the Bion-M spacecraft. Really happy that seemed to go off well. And again, hope someday we can all work together again. Because in the past, on all of the previous Bion missions, all 12 missions before the one today, it was all an international project. European Space Agency, and before even that, the French Space Agency, DLR, and the United States flew a whole bunch of biological experiments on the Bion spacecraft. And it was really cool. It was a really cool thing. Even though it might just be a student experiment or something that has already been proven, but maybe just getting a small extra data point for something, or even just doing like a peer review of, we need to repeat this experiment, see if we get the same results. It was still a super cool thing. And I don't know, I would love to see more collaboration like that again amongst all the space agencies of the world. not to rip each other off, but to progress forward as a species for all humankind. Anyway, with that, I think I'll go ahead and sign off. I am planning on doing a space pod. What I've been working on is the boost trunk and finally getting some junk in the trunk. Still don't have any good pictures, and that's supposed to be launching this Saturday. And of course, what I wanted to do was just kind of talk about how we're finally getting something useful for the trunk because it is very underutilized on the Dragon spacecraft, in my opinion. However, we've got Starship coming up, and everybody's Starship, hype for Starship Flight 10. So I'm like, even though it's due tomorrow, I'm on the fence about whether or not to move forward with my plan and finish this video about the boost trunk, or to do something else related to Starship, or even just to criticize SpaceX and be like, hey, guys, why do you keep upstaging yourselves every time you're doing something cool? I don't know. But yeah, that's my plan. One way or another, there will be a space pod out tomorrow. And if things get pushed back for the launch on Sunday for Starship, then we might have a regular live show as we normally do. Good chance that Jamie still wouldn't be able to be there either way. And if the schedule does hold and they're able to launch on Sunday, which I mean, they're still we'll see. We'll see. They might be able to do it. They might be able to do it. I'm not going to throw any shade. Then we're not going to do our regular live show on Sunday. And instead, we'll do another watch party like this for Starship launch, Flight 10. And hopefully everything goes well and we can get to reentry and finally do these heat shield tile tests to see if there's something better that they should be working with in order to safely reenter Starship and begin real operations someday. So yeah, thank you very much again for joining us. Be sure to give this video a like, share around watch any of our old space pods and any of the space news videos that I've been doing lately. Share them around with your friends. Comment on stuff. Help us out best you can with the algorithm. Every little bit helps. And if you are willing, if you're not a member already, consider signing up for our membership program. Tiers is as low as $1 a month, and it really, really helps out. As a matter of fact, at this point, I believe that 90% of our funding is coming from memberships, and we get maybe a couple of pennies from advertisements. So I apologize if ads have been annoying lately. Um, there's been a couple of things that Google has been doing that has been out of our control, and we didn't even notice that they were doing it until later. So I apologize if that has been too intrusive, but we also don't want to completely shut it off because it is helping us to do stuff for this. So yeah, any little bit helps. Especially liking, commenting, all those sorts of things. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I will see you guys tomorrow in an on-demand video, and then one way or another, I'll see you guys this coming Sunday, whether we're doing a regular live show or if we're watching together the 10th flight of Starship. So, with that, thank you again. I will see you guys next time, and keep moving onwards and upwards, everybody. And don't forget, Ad Astra, to the stars.